my wonderful third graders. I hope you're having a fantastic day. We are ready and excited to start our new domain, Colonial America. And today we're talking about the English colonies. Lesson 1. Some vocabulary you'll hear throughout the read aloud. Alarmed means shocked, disturbed, frightened. Climate is the usual weather conditions of an area over a period of time. A colony is an area settled by a group of people from another country that remains connected to the newly settled area and its people. Established means set up, started or created, put on a firm footing for the long term. False starts are repeated failures at attempting to start something, and a race starts before the approved time to begin. Plantations are large farms or estates in warm climates, usually growing a large single crop such as cotton, tobacco, sugarcane, rice, or indigo. Reliant means dependent upon or counting on someone or something for support. So the 13 English colonies were divided into 3 regions: New England region in the north, Mid-Atlantic region in the middle, and Southern region in the south. Geography and climate of each region played a big role in how the regions were categorized and how the colonies' cultures in each of these regions developed. You'll hear these words, geography and climate, throughout this domain. The word geography describes where a place is located and the type of climate or weather and temperature it experiences. For instance, the climate at the North Pole is cold and icy year-round, but in Florida, the climate is very hot in the summer and mild in the winter. Geography also describes the terrain or types of physical features found in a specific region. For example, the geography of a region includes whether it is flat, hilly, or mountainous. Whether it has trees, marshes, or deserts, and whether it is near rivers, lakes, or an ocean. The geography and climate of a region affect what type of plants and animals live in that area. Because the development of colonial regions was influenced in many ways by a particular climate, we'll hear about the colonies by region rather than according to the dates the colonies were established. As a result, they will be traveling back and forth in time as we hear the read alouds, and will be guided by creating a timeline together. In 1542, Spanish explorers had claimed a large part of South America, all of Central America, and parts of North America. This did not go unnoticed by the kings and queens of England, France, Portugal, and the Netherlands. They, too, sent their explorers off to the New World to claim land and riches for their homelands. Spain had already conquered much of Central and South America, so other European nations concentrated on claiming parts of North America. Okay, and you can see on this map the areas that were claimed. Before long, there was a race to claim land for these European kings and queens. The settlement and eventual colonization of this part of the New World had begun. So you can see with the key, look at the different colors to see which country claimed different parts of North America and South America. Lots of blue for Spain. Soon, European countries realized that not only could they explore the land for new riches, but they could trade with the people who were already living there. European traders traveled to North America to exchange goods with Native Americans. As a result, some Native Americans learned to speak a little French or English. In turn, many Europeans learned to speak native languages such as Algonquin as well. In the late 1500s, England was becoming more and more alarmed or shocked and disturbed at how much land the Spanish were claiming in what is now called Central and South America. The Spanish were not only gaining land, they were becoming wealthier too. It was time for the English to take action. In the 1580s, an English explorer named Sir Walter Raleigh set off to explore parts of North America. During this expedition, he landed on an island called Roanoke Island off the coast of what is now the state of North Carolina. Raleigh returned home eager to claim this land for England. In 1585, he persuaded Queen Elizabeth I to allow him to send a group of settlers to Roanoke Island. There's Queen Elizabeth I, a very famous queen. In which region was Roanoke Island? We can see it right here on the map. So it was in the New England region. Queen Elizabeth agreed. However, when the settlers got there, they found it difficult to survive in this new land. This was especially true in the winter because they weren't able to plant crops. When the settlers ran out of food, many people starved to death. As soon as they could, the demoralized settlers returned to England. In April 1587, the English made a second attempt to settle on Roanoke Island. This time, a man named John White led more than 100 men, women, and children, including his own daughter, Eleanor Dare, and her husband, to establish a colony in the New World. A colony is an area settled by a group of people from another country that remains connected to the new settlement. Once again, the settlers faced the same challenges, and their supplies ran low. However, this time only John White and a small crew sailed back to England for supplies, while the others remained in the colony. Just 9 days before he returned to England, his daughter had a baby and named her Virginia Dare. White's granddaughter was the first English baby born in the New World. This image is an artist's depiction of the baptism of Virginia Dare. When White and his crew arrived back in England, he learned that the country was at war with Spain, and he would not be allowed to return to Roanoke Island. It was not until 1590 that he was able to take a ship and return to the colony. When White finally arrived back on Roanoke Island, what do you think he found? Can you make a prediction? What do you think? Sadly, he found nothing. Well, the island was still there, along with some abandoned dwellings, but the colonists were nowhere to be found. How many years passed before John White returned to Roanoke Island? 3 years. He went to get them supplies and didn't come back for 3 years. White's only clue to where the colonists might have gone was the word Croatoan carved into one tree trunk, and the letters CRO carved into another. Croatoan was believed to be the name of an island about 50 miles south of Roanoke Island. John White thought the carving may have been a message that the settlers relocated to that island. John White tried to go to Croatoan Island to find the colony, but a huge storm damaged his ship and forced the crew to return to England. White was never able to return to the New World again. The mystery of what happened to these English settlers remains unsolved today. Roanoke Island has become known as the Lost Colony. What do you think happened to those people? Current research indicates that the settlers may have relocated southwest of Roanoke Island. Based on evidence from a very old map, archaeologists plan to explore that area for traces of a settlement. So they still don't know for sure. One reason many early English settlers struggled to survive was because they weren't prepared for how different their lives would be in this new land. It took several attempts before they figured out how to survive in a place where the climate, soil, landscape, plants, animals, and people were quite different from anything they had known before. Eventually, the colonists learned how to use the natural resources that were available to them, and they became less reliant on supplies from England. Do you remember what climate means? I mean, it's like the weather and how the weather is usually. What is the term used to describe all of these characteristics of a place? Geography. From this context, what do you think reliant means? They were reliant on supplies from England. They relied on them, right? They needed them to survive. And so, after a number of difficult years and false starts, England eventually established small settlements up and down the east coast of North America. Initially, these settlements were nothing more than tiny villages. Over time, the villages became towns. By the 1700s, many of the towns had grown into cities that were centers of trade and industry. In the end, 13 successful English colonies were established in North America. As the 13 English colonies began to take shape, they were naturally divided into three distinct regions: the New England, Middle Atlantic, and Southern regions. These regions were different from each other in many ways. For example, in New England, because of the colder climate, rocky terrain, and poor soil, it was difficult for the colonists to farm many crops. So, with using this key in this map, you can see the different things, the different industries that each of the colonies had. Instead, New England became known as a center of fishing, furs, timber, and shipbuilding. In the Middle Atlantic region, a wide variety of crops could be grown because of the milder climate and rich soil. As a result, agriculture, including cattle and wheat farming, became a successful way of life for many. In the warm, sprawling southern region, people created large farms called plantations, where they could grow large amounts of different crops such as rice and tobacco. So you can see that in the north they did more fishing, they had timber, lots of wooded area, and then towards the south they grew more indigo and rice and tobacco and things like that. People came to North America at different times and for many different reasons. Some came to get rich, whereas others came for religious reasons. Some hoped to escape poverty, and some were simply curious or adventurous. English monarchs played an important role in the establishment of the colonies, particularly Elizabeth I, James I, Charles I, Charles II, and George II. As we travel on our journey, we will refer to the regional map of colonial America, the Royal Portrait Gallery, and a timeline we will create together. So, are you ready to go on a journey? Good. We're going to begin next time in Jamestown, Virginia. Were your predictions correct about why Roanoke Island is called the Lost Colony today? Why is it called the Lost Colony? Do you remember? Try to use the forms of the words knew, believed, heard, suspected, and wondered in your answer. You may have heard this story about how John White, the second Englishman to attempt to colonize Roanoke Island, returned to the settlement after being away for 3 years and found the island abandoned. White found only the word Croatoan carved on a tree. White suspected the colonists might have left and gone south to an island believed to be called Croatoan. No one knows for certain what happened to the settlers. The mystery remains to this day and causes many to wonder. Describe what you see in this image. Sir Walter Raleigh, the first Englishman to attempt to colonize Roanoke Island, is persuading Queen Elizabeth I of England to allow him to send a group of settlers to Roanoke Island. What happened next? In other words, what is the main idea of this part of the story? Queen Elizabeth agreed to send Raleigh and his men to Roanoke Island, and Raleigh made the first unsuccessful attempt to set up a colony off the coast of what is today North Carolina. Why was this first colonization attempt of Roanoke Island unsuccessful? The settlers didn't know how to survive in the winter. They couldn't plant any crops. They ran out of food, and many people starved to death. They returned to England as soon as possible. Who made a second unsuccessful attempt to colonize Roanoke? John White. Which European country had developed settlements in Central America, South America, and in the southern part of North America? Which country was it? We learned about them in their explorers. Spain. Which European country explored and settled parts of northern North America, some of which are parts of Canada today? Look at the colors on the map. France. What other countries also established settlements in the Americas? Portugal and the Netherlands. What groups were already living in areas across the Americas before others arrived? The native peoples, the Native Americans. How many colonies did the English eventually establish in North America? The 13 colonies. Into how many regions were those 13 colonies divided? 3 regions. What were the names given to those 3 regions? On the map, you can see we had the New England region, the Middle Atlantic region, and the Southern region. From what you have heard thus far, how would you compare and contrast the 3 regional colonial regions, including their geography, climate, and main industries? All of the regions were colonized by England. The settlers in each region struggled at first to develop a new life in a new place. All of the regions were initially reliant upon England. Differences were in the New England region, the climate is cold for much of the year, the terrain is rocky, and the soil is poor. Fishing, lumber, and shipbuilding were the main industries, along with fur trade. In the Middle Atlantic region, the climate is milder and the soil is richer. The main industry was agriculture. In the southern region, the climate is very hot in the summer and somewhat mild in the winter. Large plantations were developed on which many types of crops were grown. Our word for today is established. In the read aloud you heard, and so after a number of different years and false starts, England eventually established small settlements up and down the east coast of North America. Say the word established. Established means set up or stabilize and often describes something that has been around for quite some time and that will continue to be in existence. You can establish something concrete, such as a building, or you can establish something abstract, such as an idea or a plan. Okay, and then at the end of the day today, we're going to work on making our timeline. And we're going to make an acrostic poem together with our regions. So try and remember something about the regions so we can put them in our poem. All right, boys and girls, we are getting ready and excited to study the colonies.